Morning, folks. Hope all is going good for you and you're getting out in nature here and there. Just like the Eucalyptus dives, I just wanted to make a version 2 of a particular species because when I made it, I couldn't really get fresh material and I was sort of using fallen limbs on the ground to demonstrate things. This is an absolutely beautiful site. I won't give too much away because this is a bit of really high-end real estate. I'm just doing a land for wildlife assessment. This is in Bowral, East Bowral in the Southern Highlands, of course. I hate to think what this place is worth, but I'm just going to make a video on Eucalyptus alata and it'll be version 2. There's some big, beautiful ones here growing on shale. There's a beautiful pond here, dam, I guess, on a creek. It's just gently cascading over. It's a really beautiful area. It's all exotic pasture, but there's some really beautiful alatas here. There's other trees in the distance like Cypellocarpa, Viminalis, radiata, and there's a little bit of fastigator as well, brown barrel. But there was a very foggy morning, even though it's going to be a really hot day in Sydney today at least, late October, mid to late October. And it took me a while. With these eucalypts, I like the sun to come out so I can have a really good look at the canopy. It's very hard when it's very foggy. And I've got radiata here, but once you start getting trees with a part bark at the bottom, they often have lichens on them. And then sort of a somewhat peppermint bark at the bottom, but it's more sort of coarsely fibrous and it's very tough. Like it's a bit of a tough bark on alata. You get these sort of crumbly chunks. They can vary in size and they can look a bit ironbarky at times or moving towards ironbark. And then as you go up, the limbs are soon very smooth. Sort of like, I don't know, something like Pilularis, I guess, or some of the boxes. You got, very quickly you got these smooth limbs, and that's what steers you away from radiata, which has fibrous bark going all the way to the top. And then one of the real killer features for it to start with is these really narrow leaves. You get really narrow leaves on alata, probably about up to 15 mil wide, something like that. They're not overly long a lot of the time, nice and narrow. And being the river peppermint, if you give them a crush, the peppermint smell is quite powerful. Maybe not as powerful as divies, but it's certainly there. I find radiata and divies sort of the strongest, but alata's got a really good peppermint hit as well. Eucalyptus alata, it doesn't have a massive range, but it goes up into New South Wales about as far as the Putty Broke area. There's a little cluster of records to the east of Brisbane in the west of Brisbane in Queensland. I'm not sure what they're doing there. I'll have to look those ones up, but might just be some naturalisations or something maybe. But it's known for being in the Putty Broke area, Hunter Valley, and then it comes down the coast and sort of Tablelands fringe. It doesn't go too far west. It's sort of going as far west as areas like Taralga, near sort of Wombeyan Caves and Marulan there, down around Braidwood, and then if you get down further down the south coast, sort of that Araluen area out of Maruya, it's getting a bit further west of that. Doesn't get into the ACT at all. And then it comes down into Victoria. And in Victoria, it sort of has a bit of a scattering towards Melbourne. It's there in the eastern part of Victoria a lot. And then there's sort of a band going towards Melbourne. And Melbourne sort of seems to be the western limit for it, as far as I can see. It's probably been planted a bit and might have naturalised in places. They can get tall alata. They can get very big. I've seen some in the Southern Highlands that are easily hitting I reckon 50 metres in some cases on some deep gully creek lines. That's where they like to hang out. They will hang out on the shale, sometimes on the higher grounds, but they also hang out in the deep sandstone gullies. So they're a little bit versatile. I know around Exeter and even Berrima, you get them on the sort of higher shale hills. But here they're growing on a creek line on shale. But do look for them in a deep sandstone gully. You'll get them there as well. So just the New South Wales Victorian tree. So when I look up the detail, the leaves they can get to 22 centimetres long and they can get to 2 centimetres wide. So just correcting that when I look up the actual detail stated on Euclid. However, I see them a lot narrower than that a lot of the time. These leaves are probably up to 15 mil, but normally they're around 10 or a bit less, and 22 centimetres long, but I normally see them less than that. One of the distinctive things for Elata, it's just a juvenile growth. It's very viminalis looking and it's very radiata looking as well. They very commonly put on these narrow juveniles where you've got some opposite leaves for a little bit, looking very radiata, and they're looking a bit viminalis too. So I sort of link those all together in the juvenile growth. These will have a strong peppermint smell. Viminalis smell a bit different. And they hold the opposite pairs for a fair bit of time. So you can pick Elata on the juveniles. Here's a smaller tree here. Look at the lichens on it. It's got more of a peppermint bark, but I can't seem to peel it off readily like I can on Piperita, radiata and Dives. It sort of doesn't have the sawdusty texture. It's a little bit more hard and furrowed in Elata. But I go up and I get those bare branches pretty quick. And this was a juvenile branch. I just snapped back to have a look. Just sort of a suckering branch. But a lot of narrow opposite leaves there for a bit. Strong peppermint smell. And then we've got that really cool Dives and radiata feature, and that is the buds are produced in a really high number. Now what I've got here doesn't really matter, it's all representative. I've got sort of immature fruits. So I don't quite have the buds, they're past that, they're past the flowering stage. I have seen a lot of flowering in the last month and they've moved on to the developing fruit stage, past flowering. But you can see how many there are in a cluster. Elata's known for going up to that, well into that 15 to 31 bracket, getting up to 30 per cluster. Because we're in the fruiting stage, the numbers are going to be a bit lower. But I'll just get some representative samples. What strikes you is you just look at the fruiting material or the bud material, and there's just so many. You just get these really laden branches where you're well and surely beyond 7 in an individual umbellasta. And there's just so many little units being developed. Check out this one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I can see about 19 without spinning it around. And I'm not trying to exaggerate. It's just the way it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's just so easy to get above 7. And normally above 15. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 in that one there. Yeah, that's what they're doing in Eucalyptus elata. Well and truly, they can get up to that 30 number, and it's a bit atypical for a lot of our Eucs, as we know. The peppermints do it, and remember, Stellulata will do it as well. That'll throw a high number too. And I think snow gum's capable of doing it as well. But this is what we get with elata. And it's quite, you know, when you hold out that whole thing, there's just so many gum nuts developing there. And it's just one of the features for it. Normally they're very generous with their material. They drop it really easily, and you just got to watch out for that. And then we get our fully formed fruits, of course, which are normally always readily available. And there they are there. And they're only about 5 mil by 5 mil, 5 mil long, 5 mil wide, or I think they're about 5 mil long and 6 mil wide perhaps. 3 to 4 valves which are enclosed. And they do have that radiata divey shape and appearance, but they're smaller. They just tend to be a little bit smaller than radiata and diveys, and they're produced in slightly higher numbers. So that's a beautiful fruit. They've all got an individual pedicel, and you can see they've got a peduncle there as well, just a common shared peduncle. And it's just a high number that's going to sort of, and the size of the tree, that should make you think it's a peppermint, especially when you combine it with the smell of the leaves as well. So I struggled to get fresh material in the last video, and I just wanted to do this one justice. If you just look up here, these beautiful weeping branches, there's just so much fruit there. Just those high numbers. So that's, really easy for a larder, I think. Just a nice one to zoom in on and learn pretty easily. Like I said, I've seen them in flower, and it would have been good to get some flowering material. You can see possibly these guys are just finishing up. So they have been flowering lately. They've just finished up. Possibly, I'll see if I can get any ones in flower today. But they are common in the Southern Highlands. You need to get a bit out of Sydney to find them. I think in Sydney, you got to come at least to Mittagong, or maybe you can go out to Richmond, Windsor way, and you might start picking them up on the creek lines there as well. But I don't get them in Sutherland Shire unless they've been planted. You sort of got to get out of Sydney to start picking them up. Some beautiful elatas here. Once the blue sky came, I was able to sort of pick them up. I wasn't sort of picking them up in the fog. And, like in the last video, make use of these fallen branches and just see the really high bud numbers. So it could be radiata, but when you see that a lot of the fallen branch is bare and doesn't have the full fibrous bark, you just think elata. That's what the buds look like, even when they're, fresh, nice and green. That's typically what they look like. These ones are just, obviously died off. But it's just the incredible large number of buds, just like radiata, that leads you to elata. Typical bud appearance there. So that's it for that guy. Beautiful tree. Here they're pushing, I don't know, there's one here probably pushing 25 metres, possibly a little bit more. But do note, they can get to, I've seen some say, I can remember in Penrose State Forest in some deep sandstone gullies, they're pushing 40, 45, 50 metres in some cases. Absolutely huge.